What's going on? Welcome back to Off the Schneid. Today we're going to take a look at the Carolina Panthers heading into the 2022 NFL Draft. Above me you can see their team needs here, and then the draft capital that they have heading into the draft above that. This team's in an interesting spot, obviously. Keep an eye out for my mock draft. There's 6 overall here. Keep an eye out for the mock draft coming out in about a week's time. Hopefully on April 23rd is when I'll actually have it released. So yeah, keep an eye out and see what I have them doing. They just have the one pick in the first round before it's just a bunch of dart throws. 137, 144, 149. Sure, you can hopefully get at least one or two players right there that is going to play a meaningful role for this team, but realistically it's all about that number 6 pick. And what are they going to do? Let's jump right into that. Like I said, I want to start with the coaching staff here. Obviously it's a huge year for Matt Rule. He was given the keys to this team. Everything that he's done has been what he wants to do. He's built this roster. If it were me, and I think every single Panthers fan would agree with me here, I would have taken a quarterback in last year's draft over JC Horn. JC Horn was my number 1 corner in the draft last year, but it just wasn't really a need, and you have to get that position settled. Like, I get it. You want to give, you think Sam Darnold can be your guy, but unless you're ready to commit to him, it's almost like you either re-sign him to a deal or you still draft a quarterback. And they should have drafted a guy last year. Your scouting team should have said, hey, this is the year to draft a quarterback because next year's class does not look very good. Unless they're just completely sold on Kenny Pickett at 6 overall. He was a former, he committed to the University of Temple where Matt Rule was the head coach. There's pictures of them together. He's wearing a Temple jersey. Obviously he ended up going to Pitt, but is that what the pick is going to be? I don't know. So this is a huge year for Matt Rule. I've been a big supporter. If you watch this channel a lot, I've been a big supporter in Matt Rule and how he's built this team. And I think this team is built to win. It's just, there could have been a couple decisions made here and there that would have put this team in a better position to win this year, which is probably going to be the final year for Matt Rule, unless he takes this team, at least makes a quality push towards the playoffs. And that still might not get it done to keep him his job. If they make the playoffs, I think he definitely keeps his job, but we'll see how it all shakes out. But this is an absolutely massive year for this team and for Matt Rule. Ben McAdoo comes in as the offensive coordinator. I think that's absolutely, a quality move, and we'll see how this all shakes out, but it's all going to revolve around what they do at quarterback. So let's get right into it. Sam Darnold is, penciled in, like lightly penciled in as the starter of this team. We'll see what they end up doing. Regardless, this is the last year he's going to be on this team, unless he does start and he leads his team to the playoffs and he has a good season. Then okay, you get a deal done, and you'll probably be able to get him on the cheap. Even if he does lead you to the playoffs and he does have a good season, you'll still probably be able to get him on the cheap. But like I said, do they draft Kenny Pickett, Desmond Ridder, Malik Willis at 6 overall? I don't know. It does feel like they will. Like, it feels like they're gonna take, and it's just a last ditch effort to save his job, which is not a good, it's not a good way to go about things, because it's not going to set up this team to win in the future unless they hit at quarterback. If Kenny Pickett's the guy and he ends up, coming in and leading them to the playoffs, you just, thank your lucky stars that it worked out. But I just don't particularly see it happening like that. I really don't. I think this team misses the playoffs. Matt Rule gets fired. And then what do they do with that quarterback that they do draft this year? New regime comes in, and then if they're a bad team, do they just turn around and draft another quarterback in next year's draft? I don't know. We'll see how it all works out. And, if I'm being honest, I would do something different, and we'll get there in a second. But, PJ Walker's still there. Sam Darnold is there. And I do think that they take a last ditch effort and throw a dart, take a shot on one of these quarterbacks, and just hope that it works out. We'll see if it does. We'll move to the running back position. Christian McCaffrey obviously just has to stay healthy. He absolutely has to stay healthy this year. He really, really does. And they need him too. This team started 3-0. Like, they were all bad teams that they played. But with Sam Darnold and Christian McCaffrey, they started 3-0 and they were playing well. They played well. And I think they won 4 games total when they were both on the field. They both missed time. But when they were both playing, this was a quality team because that defense is very, very good, and we'll get there in a second. But, maybe that's all it is that, Christian McCaffrey needs to stay healthy, and this team can win some ball games with Sam Darnold. I don't know. I just still don't think that they're going to give him that opportunity, but we'll see what happens. Chuba Hubbard is still there as their backup, and then they bring in Deontay Foreman, who had a very good season with the Titans last year, spelling an injured Derrick Henry. So they got those two big body running backs that can take the load off of Christian McCaffrey and let him do things that they can't do, right? So hopefully, I think they're going to take carries away from Christian McCaffrey and give it to these two other big body running backs and let them be the hammer between the tackles, and let Christian McCaffrey do some other things and maybe line up in the slot, catch a lot of balls like he does anyways. And then, like I said, not have him take that punishment, because you need to have Christian McCaffrey on the field. It just is what it is. So we'll see what happens with that, but they do have the depth now, probably the best depth at running back that this team has had in a lot of years. They just, it's either been Christian McCaffrey and then like Reggie Bonifon and whoever else, but now they finally have some quality depth here, and then a playmaker in Christian McCaffrey, but he has to stay healthy. Let's move to the tight end position. Ian Thomas comes back. I'm okay with him, but Tommy Tremble's the guy that they need to take a step this year. There's no reason to think he won't. He did some good things for this team last year. A lot of NFL teams liked what he could do coming out of college and into the draft last year. Got himself as a 3rd round pick. And I think he's going to be that tight end playmaker that they need, since Greg Olsen left, sort of a thing. And I do like him. I think that they're okay with those two guys. Steven Sullivan's also there. Colin Thompson, to be honest, I don't even know who that is, but I think it's Tommy Tremble and then Ian Thomas. And then, Sullivan's their backup depth guy, sort of a thing. I do like what Tremble can do, and I think he can take a step forward and have, 400 to 500 yards, maybe, 4, 5, 6 touchdowns, something like that. I think would be a very quality season out of Tommy Tremble. Let's move to the offensive line here. So again, what I probably do is I take a risk on Sam Darnold again. I know that's an extremely risky thing to do, but why do I do that? You have got to settle that left tackle spot. You have absolutely got to settle it. If you're going to, the left guard position is in a tough spot with Pat Elflein. I'm not comfortable, with anything beside, anything on the left side, which is the most important side of your line. The right side is taken care of. The right side is fantastic. And center, bringing in Bradley Bozeman was a good idea. He's fine. And then they have the swing tackles in Cameron Irving and Brady Christensen, and maybe they can kick in and start at left guard. At least you're having an open competition. You just want to put your best foot forward here on this offensive line. So at 6 overall, if it's me, I'm drafting a left tackle. There's a bunch of good ones in this year's draft. If Icky's there, no question I'm taking him. If Evan Neal is there, I'm probably taking him. If Cross is there, I'm probably taking him, to be honest with you. That's what I'm doing. And then I hope that a healthy Christian McCaffrey and a healthy Sam Darnold with a better, improved offensive line, I hope that gets me there. I really do. The NFC is weak. It's weak this year. And if they can just push into the playoffs, I don't care if they get bounced in the first round. If they can be the seventh playoff team, the 3rd wild card team, that's more than fine, and that saves everybody's job, and then they can address quarterback next year. So that's probably what I do. Do they do that? I don't think so. I really don't think so, but that's what I would do, to be honest with you. I just don't think that, any of these quarterbacks are a massive improvement from Sam Darnold. I really don't. They might not even be ready to start. So, I guess if it's me, I take Kenny Pickett because he's my most, pro-ready quarterback in this year's draft. Desmond Ridder's up there as well for me as well, but it looks like it's Kenny Pickett or Malik Willis. So for me, I'm taking Kenny Pickett if I'm having him start this year. But then he's going to have a lackluster offensive line to look forward to. So I don't know. We'll see what happens. That's just my 2 cents on it. And we'll see how it all shakes out. Check the mock draft, like I said. Let's move to wide receivers. Wide receivers are in a good spot. They don't really need to address it. They could. I do have it as a need here, but it's a late need. 5th, 6th round if they want to throw a dart at a guy. Shi Smith, he's a quality looking slot receiver. They had him at the Senior Bowl. They liked him. They drafted him. He's now here, and I think he can get the job done in a pinch. Terrace Marshall, I do think, is the slot receiver on this team. I was saying it last year. And I think that, I loved Terrace Marshall last year. I really, really did. I thought he was going to do well. I thought he was going to have a good season, but it just did not work out for one reason or another. Injuries on the offensive line and quarterback, Christian McCaffrey, everything just didn't fall into place for this team offensively. So hopefully he takes that step and he's one of those guys this year. Robbie Anderson's still there. He's your burner. Matt Rule loves him, obviously former Temple guy, and he can do some good things. They just need a little bit better production out of him this year. DJ Moore, just set it and forget it. 1,100 yards, 4 touchdowns. So as long as he can be exactly what he's been, I still think he's a very underrated wide receiver who can always take that step forward as long as he has improved quarterback play. But we'll see. Obviously, he's done what he's done with very lackluster quarterback play. So if he gets a quality quarterback, wheels up for DJ Moore, but we'll see what happens. Rashard Higgins comes in. I think that he can be a quality depth guy. Brandon Zylstra has been on this team for a while, but like I said, you can add a guy late in the draft, and I'd be more than okay with that. So let's move to the defensive side of the ball. There are some defensive needs, but this is a very quality defensive unit, in my opinion. They've obviously sunk a lot of draft capital in it, which I've always been more than okay with. If you go through and check the previous episodes of the Panthers, I've been more than okay with them investing in defense, except for that JC Horn pick. Not that I don't like JC Horn, because like I said, he was my cornerback one in that year's draft. So let's start it out on the defensive line. Phil Snow is the defensive coordinator here. Yetur Gross-Matos has to take that step. This will be his third year. He has to be the guy opposite Brian Burns. Brian Burns is definitely that guy, but they need Gross-Matos to take a step forward. And that is the biggest need on this defense, is a defensive end who can help get after the quarterback. Obviously, like you see, I have it there as a number one need. But if Yetur Gross-Matos doesn't take that step, you need a rookie that's going to be able to push him. I'm probably drafting that in the 4th round, 5th round for sure. And, having a rookie come in to push these guys. Brian Burns is one of your guys, and then hopefully Gross-Matos takes that step. But if he doesn't, you got a rookie to push him. Defensive line looks good. Another former Temple guy, Matt Adonis, comes in. He can get the job done. He's a quality football player. He's been around for a long time. And then Derek Brown was a very good selection in the 1st round a couple years ago. He's a quality player who can definitely get the job done. And then they have some depth there with a couple, later draft selections in Davion Nixon, Bravion Roy, and Phil Hoskins as well. Those guys are good enough depth for me. I'm okay with that. I do have it as a need, but realistically, with the limited draft capital that they have, I'm probably not going to address it, because they do have some other needs that I'd be more than happy that they do invest in. Let's move back to linebacker. Shaq Thompson, he's still there. Damian Wilson comes in. That's a phenomenal grab for them. I think he starts right away and plays, has a very good, I think he's going to have a pretty good season. I think he's going to end up being their number one linebacker on this team. And then Corey Littleton comes in as well. He's a quality vet that's been around a long time. He can do a lot of good things. I think they're okay. Kamal Martin, Frankie Luvo is still there as well as depth guys. They can play on special teams and everything like that. I think they're fine at linebacker. It's not something that I invest in. Realistically, this defense is in a really good spot, with the exception of the defensive end position that I absolutely invest in, but not with my first round pick, 6 overall type of thing. You just can't justify it with the needs at left tackle and quarterback. Let's move it back to the DBs. Corners are in a very good spot. Obviously, like I said, they invested in it in the draft with J.C. Horn. C.J. Henderson was a former first-round pick. He came in a trade. Dante Jackson has been fantastic for this team since he was drafted by them. Keith Taylor had a good rookie season. Troy Pride is still there. Rashawn Melvin, as long as you don't have to rely on him, he's a quality vet that's been around a long time. Maybe he can move over to safety. Hard to say, but I think they're fine at corner with the investment they made, as long as JC Horn is healthy this year. He had a tough injury as a rookie, but if he comes back and he's healthy, this is a very good back end of your defense. And then Xavier Woods coming in, he's a quality safety, very, very quality safety, and Jeremy Chin might turn into one of the top safeties in the NFL. He's very quickly moving in that direction. I'm a big fan of Jeremy Chin and what he can do. And then they have some quality depth. Sam Franklin, Sean Chandler played some played some meaningful snaps for this team. They play on special teams, and Kenny Robinson as well. I'm okay with their depth at safety. Realistically, the only depth pieces that you need on this defense is that defensive end, like I talked about. But they do have limited draft capital, so they absolutely have to go all in on that 6th overall selection. And is it going to be a quarterback? Is it going to be a left tackle? I'm not sure. We'll see. Check my mock draft and see what I have them doing in about a week or so. But there you go. There's your breakdown for the Carolina Panthers. I like the direction that they've been moving in. I would have selected a quarterback last year, and then with 6 overall, you get a left tackle. Your team's pretty much set. You're in a really good spot. So that, you can't go back in time. Obviously, it is what it is, and they're in this position, and it feels like they're just gonna go all in on whatever quarterback they select at 6 overall. My feeling is that it's going to be Kenny Pickett, 6th overall. We'll see. Again, check the mock draft, and I start him. I at the very least have just an open competition with him and Sam Darnold. Probably start Kenny Pickett because Matt Rule's job depends on it, and then just see if you can squeak into the playoffs in a weaker NFC this season. So there you go. Let me know what you think in the comments. Like I said, keep an eye out for the mock draft. Let me know what you think in the comments. There's your breakdown for the 2022 Carolina Panthers.